House of the Dragon is over. It sucked.
Andrew Klavan is wrong about House of the Dragon.
I don't like it. It's not any good.
So first of all, Andrew does a review on a show that he hasn't even finished yet. According to what he says here, he's only watched until about episode 5, and he couldn't finish the rest because it was way too boring.
Reviewing House of the Dragon, the prequel to Game of Thrones, and I watched 5 episodes.
So that's already a massive issue. I don't know how you can review a story and not even have watched the entire thing. His criticisms don't really hold up.
It's boring as hell, and I really don't want to. The reason I haven't watched more of it is because I'm not interested.
Okay, so in Andrew's opinion, obviously the first 5 episodes of House of the Dragon are really boring.
Your wife in marriage.
I'd gladly give Lady Rare to you, Lord Hightower, if you're in want of a woman to warm your bed. Your own lady wife passed recently. Did she not?
Otto.
Perhaps you aren't ready to move on just yet.
You know how my brother makes sport of provoking you. Must you indulge him? My apologies, Your Grace. This council has. Draw. Betroth them. I came here to hunt. Not to be suffocated by all this fucking politicking.
Sin drasma coda brima studaor.
Karjbag ieri ti tempo isa.
Se paveso gos curiositumasta.
Che poi uno sud cotion pradela rota.
Tranno zucho ariosit.
E amuno tresi sico si agevo. Ergoti, sperium.
Ma se pavron qui Jalina.
I bought you something. We must all mourn in our own way, Your Grace.
My family has just been destroyed. But instead of being by my side or Rhaenyra's, you chose to celebrate your own rise! Laughing with your whores and your leg spittles! You have no allies at court but me! I have only ever defended you! Yet everything I've given you, you've thrown back in my face!
You've only ever tried to send me away, to the Vale, to the City Watch. Anywhere but by your side. 10 years you've been king, and yet not once have you asked me to be your hand.
Why would I do that?
Because I'm your brother. And the blood of the dragon runs thick.
Then why do you cut me so deep?
I've only ever spoken the truth. I see Otto Hightower for what he is.
An unwavering and loyal
A
hand.
cunt.
So all the clips I just showed you were from the first 5 episodes of House of the Dragon. And yeah, Andrew, I mean, man, you got me. I have to agree. Super boring. I don't know how anyone could watch this. Now, if I actually had to put in all the moments that were just absolutely fantastic from just the first 5 episodes, this video would probably be hours long.
Loved that. Then, however, the story had no stakes whatsoever.
Where's the stake?
All it was women complaining.
So this one really bugs me. It's only women complaining the entire time. No, there's a little bit more to it than that. Well, there are 2 women who have a growing feud between them, and they're willing to go to war at the end. There is a prophecy intermixed there. It's just a king trying to keep his family together despite dying from an illness. The show is commentating on how the feudal system of succession is flawed. They're scheming and plotting. I mean, we get Lara Strong, who is like the perfect amalgamation of Varys and Littlefinger from the first series. There's a lot more that goes on than just women screaming at each other. It's about scheming and plotting.
Fucking politicking.
Like the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones, like, you could say that the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones were just people complaining. And so for Andrew to say, yeah, that no, it's just women complaining from start to finish, like, it's very disingenuous. And I don't know how he can say that, because I only watched the first 5 episodes, which doesn't really make any sense.
Long form television. I love watching a show that can, splay out like a novel and all that. But people keep saying to me, oh, you've got to get to the 6th episode. If you don't grab me in the first episode, my question is this: if I have to go through 5 boring hours to get to the 6th interesting hour, on my deathbed, are you going to give me those 5 hours back that I wasted getting to your lousy 6th episode?
I kind of get this. They are really slow-paced, but I don't think slow-paced equals boring. There's this weird thing in sort of modern media critic land where people equate not a lot happening, in terms of action as being boring. But whenever there is a lot of action, then it's like, oh, there's only action. There's no substance, For instance, when it's a Transformers movie and it's just fucking constant action the entire time and there's no substance, then people complain, oh, but, stories aren't really about the action. It's about the characters. It's about, their relationships and their development and everything. But as soon as a story is pretty much just about character development and, the story being told, and there isn't a lot of action, then it's the exact opposite. Then, when they ask for it in one scenario, then it's wrong, but if they get it in another scenario, it's wrong. It's like, you can't win. You just can't win. And like the idea that it's boring, the first 5 episodes, I just completely disagree. There's a lot that happens. There are a lot of twists and turns. There is a lot of unexpected things that happen, intrigue. There's action. Yeah, there's not a lot of action, but the first season of Game of Thrones didn't have a lot of action. It pretty much had none, to be honest. A few scenes here and there. So, like, again, this is one of those things where I don't see where the criticism is coming from. Now, obviously, it is subjective. If you don't like something, then that's fine. You don't like something. I don't like a lot of things that are very popular. Lord of the Rings. I'm not the biggest fan of Lord of the Rings. I'm not saying it's shit. I've watched it. I get why people love it so much. Just because a lot of people like something doesn't mean you do have to like it. But I'm not going to go and say Lord of the Rings is just completely boring, or, this is wrong with it, or that is wrong with it, if it doesn't really apply. And I think that's what Andrew Klavan is doing here. He's saying things that would be valid criticisms if it was actually valid. But the things that he is saying just do not apply to the series. And at the same time, if you like something and the rest of the world seems to not like it, then that's fine as well. I admittedly love the Transformers movies, the Bayverse movies. I don't think they're good. They have a lot of problems, and I get all the arguments that say that they're horrible, because, well, frankly, they kind of are. But I like them for my own personal reasons, and I get why people dislike them, and I agree why people don't like them, but I have my own reasons to like them. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to lie and say that all the criticisms that people levy against them are wrong, because no, they're not. They are correct. But I don't have to pretend that those criticisms aren't valid, because they absolutely are. And the same thing again with the other way. If I don't like something that everyone else seems to like, I don't pretend that their arguments aren't valid. The same way that Andrew's doing here. So this is another problem I have with a lot of like modern critiquing of movies and shows, is in the last couple of decades, there have been a lot of movies and shows that have come out that have, they've had a woke bent to them. They try to push these strong female characters, and, they don't care about the story as long as the female character is strong and the men look bad, and, so on and so on. Like, we've all seen this before, we all know this. But in the pushback against those types of movies and films and series, I think people have gone a little bit too far in that direction, because sometimes when a show isn't like that, people still apply those same criticisms to those shows, and I think that is definitely the case here. A lot of people, Andrew Klavan included, they seem to have this idea that anything new that comes out has a woke bend to it, and House of the Dragon is, no different. The idea that the female characters in this show seem to represent like the strong, badass female character, and the men get sidelined, and they're useless, and it's all about the woman, and like that's just not what this show is about.
There were no men of interest. The only really great male character was this weakling king.
You're weak, Viserys.
About one good male character, and that's King Viserys. No, you've got Daemon, you've got Aemond, you've got Sir Criston, who's a really interesting character. You've got Larys Strop, who is a super interesting character. Like, I just don't see where he's coming from. Just one. And again, how do you come to that conclusion when you've only seen half of the season? That just doesn't make any sense.
But it was women complaining, one, that they couldn't be king. Why can't I be king? It's like, because you're a woman. That's not fair. That was the whole thing. And they didn't have any reason.
What do you mean they didn't have any reason? So many horrible, horrible kings have sat on the Iron Throne because of this archaic, feudal succession system that Westeros uses to choose its kings. Now, I love it because that is what gives us all the drama, and it's what makes the story interesting. But to say they don't have any reason to complain about it, and to think, well, maybe, we should actually get, good people on the Iron Throne that, are competent and, deserve to be there, because otherwise you end up with people like, Joffrey Baratheon. Maybe you end up with, King Viserys, who is not the best leader. He's a good man, but he's not a great leader. Maybe Rhaenys would have been a better leader if she got picked, but no, because they have this idea of succession where, if you're not a man, if you're not the firstborn son of the previous king, then you don't really have a claim to the throne, and, it doesn't really matter what sort of character that person is, what sort of leadership skills they have. That is what your qualifications are. If you are the firstborn son, then that gives you the right to the throne. Doesn't matter if you're actually going to be good at it. So to say the women don't complain about it, and the thing is, the women in this show, they get used as pawns. They are put into these situations where they have to marry people, they have to get children and everything, against their will a lot of the times. It's sometimes they're forced to do these things against their will, for their houses. Alicent is being manipulated by her father. Rhaenyra is being pushed into certain directions by her father for duty and everything that he calls it, but really, she's being used as a pawn. And logically, the question comes up, is this system really what we want? Do we really want, horrible people to be in the positions of power, for the sake of keeping with tradition, to keep with, what has worked badly for centuries now?
Secondly, it was endless scenes of women in labor complaining about it.
This is where me and Andrew Klavan agree. I think there were way too many scenes where characters were giving birth, and it got kind of annoying, and I do not want to see that constantly on the screen. So, fair enough.
It is just life. And so the way that women were depicted was kind of it was somehow a cheat.
So Andrew starts complaining about how the show is saying that giving birth is this unfortunate thing, and that women in the show feel it's a cheat, and it's unfair. But the thing is during medieval times, from a quick Google search I did, approximately 1 out of 20 women die during childbirth. And House of the Dragon is obviously set in a quasi-medieval setting. And Rhaenyra's mother died during childbirth at the beginning of the show. So I can't imagine most women were thrilled at the idea of giving birth, given, the kind of slim chances that you were taking. And it's not like all the female characters just hate their children because, it represents oppression like Andrew tries to make it out to be. Rhaenyra clearly loves her children and would do anything for them. Alicent still loves her children and would do anything for them, despite one child speaking in creepy tongues.
That's 240.
Yes, it is.
It has eyes. Though I don't believe it can see.
The other one being a deadbeat good for nothing who will become king, and the other one is a homicidal maniac with one eye.
I want you to put out your eye. It's payment for mine. One will serve. I would not blind you. I plan to make a gift of it to my mother.
But, I mean, you wouldn't really get all of this if you only watched the first episode. The first 5 episodes. So I do actually like Andrew Klavan. Some of the work that he's done I've really enjoyed. I just think that I'm using him as an example because I've started to see this more and more. With like these kind of dog shit hot takes about things where like people don't really think through what they are saying. They're just saying sort of the buzzwords that, you know, will get the views. And like I get it. People have over the last 10 years have made a career out of hating on anything new that comes out. You know, whenever a new Marvel movie comes out, whenever a new Star Wars movie comes out, there's like this whole little industry of people that make their living off of just hating on these products. And I get it, because a lot of these products deserve it. Like the new Star Wars movies, they deserve to get shat on. But I think that there's really a problem where people have stopped, like, objectively looking at things and, you know, analyzing what happens in the stories and, you know, what makes a story good or bad. And everything is just bad. If it's a prequel or a sequel or a reboot, most of them are bad, fair enough. But, like, some of them aren't. And I don't think House of the Dragon is. House of the Dragon, I think, perfectly encapsulates what made the first couple of seasons of Game of Thrones the best TV in history. And I think a lot of people that have these bad hot takes on it, they just have this idea that anything that's new, anything that's a prequel, anything that is set in an already created universe is just automatically bad. And I do not think that is the case. And, you know, I wish that we could go back to, like, you know, objective film critiquing. And again, like, you can like whatever you want. If Andrew Klavan doesn't like House of the Dragon, fair enough. Like, I really don't care. And that's fine. Despite me making a video about him complaining about House of the Dragon. Hypocrite. But if you're not going to like something, don't make up reasons why you don't like it. If it's valid criticism, like the big thing that I did not like about House of the Dragon was the time jumps. I do think the time jumps are necessary. I don't think they're as big of a deal as a lot of people made them out to be, but I did not like them. Especially the casting change, especially with Rhaenyra. I loved Millie. She was a great actor. Emma is a great actor as well. I would have preferred if they just stuck with Millie. I think that was just a jarring change. Like, if he mentioned that, then I would be like, yeah, fair enough. The birthing scenes criticism of his, that there were way too many births being given and shown in this series. Totally agree. That's a valid criticism. But only watching half the series, saying that it's boring, there are no stakes, like, those are things that are just, like, factually wrong. And I don't like that. Like, I think that's a disservice to the people who worked on the show. I think that's a disservice to the profession of film criticism, because it's lazy. It really is just lazy. You know, it's all kind of like me complaining about a Ferrari because the Ferrari doesn't have a trunk like a pickup truck. Like, that criticism just is not valid in that example. And in the same way, I don't think that the criticisms that he is giving House of the Dragon really fit the show. Like, I don't think they're valid. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Cheers.
No, I'm done. House of the Dragon is over. It sucked. I'm not